Let me testify. It's gonna be the year that I break every cycle. Let me testify, right hand on the Bible. I was tripping, chasing every empty title. Now I'm locked in, living like a walking Bible. He ain't failed me yet.
All right, ladies, nobody told us marriage would ask women to manage everyone else's comfort, including God's. Nobody told us desire would be treated like a liability instead of a gift, which is what it is. And nobody told us that loving a man could slowly teach you to question your own voice. But we learned it anyway. And it didn't come from scripture. Y'all know what it came from. Culture, survival, watching other women disappear. So let's say this thing out loud. A lot of women don't fear marriage because they're independent or because they're afraid of love. They want it. They want that relationship and communion. But they fear marriage because they've watched it cost women their clarity, their calling, their desires, their peace. They see women losing themselves. So some of you clocked it with your friends, and maybe you even noticed it within yourself. And so we just gonna be honest today, so we're not shrinking before we ever say I do. So welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the Yes Work podcast, and we're your hosts. I'm Dr. Blaire.
I'm Lady B.
I am Dr. DQ. We are three amazing Black women, highly educated, deep in our faith, walking in this journey, and we are no longer interested in pretending we don't see what we see. Baby, these eyes are working. So Yes Work is where we examine how belief, culture, how our lived experiences shape the way we love, how we lead, and how we obey God. So this episode is for the woman who wants partnership, but she's not going to lose herself while trying to keep it. And this is for the woman who's tired of being told that her desire is too much, but a man's comfort is sacred. Baby, we're going to have a good conversation today. So for the woman asking, why does union feel like erasure? Who taught me that? This is what we're going to talk about today. This is where you're supposed to be. So here we're going to examine how you learned what it was and whether God was actually centered in that formation. We're not here to defend. We're just here to talk truth. So sit back and listen, reflect, and let what's true rise up.
I love it. Yeah. Trying to figure out if I'm ready for this.
We read it.
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh. We are so ready. We're so ready.
Yes.
And we have been talking about this conversation about, well, we've been talking about marriage for quite some time.
Yes.
Before marriage, during marriage, we're still talking about it. And it's funny because right before this recording, before we hit record, we were talking about how long we've been married. And we are all, we all got married around the same time. Like,
We
I don't,
did.
2013 was a popular year.
It was.
Dr. Blaire and I got married in 2013 and Dr. DQ 2014. So, wow. And it's, you know what else, ladies, I was thinking about in regards to marriage, and Blaire had me just thinking about it just now. But when we first started talking about starting a podcast, it was around the marriage or bride to be boot camp.
Yes.
So I feel like this is all like full circle because we wanted to talk about the things that we just weren't told or didn't know coming into this world of marriage.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Here we are.
we started, like I said, we started these conversations early on and we realized what we can no longer unsee. And that is that many women don't actually fear marriage itself. What we fear is that marriage has required many of us to lose. And when I speak of this, or when we talk about this today, like we're not speaking from a theory. We are really speaking from our own observations or our own experiences. And a lot of us grew up watching relationships or marriages and our families very closely. And what many women have noticed over time is that marriage has often asked women to give up more than anyone is willing to openly talk about.
Yes.
But honey, we are here today to openly discuss that. So now, I want to say all marriages are different, right? And if you're married, then you know there are some good times as well as some not so good times. And what we're speaking on today is not whether your marriage is healthy or not, but what we are speaking to is really the weight that some women carry quietly inside of their marriage. You know, the tension or the pressure to hold or to keep everything together while wrestling with your own identity or desires or your own voice. So, on one hand, genuinely, we desire partnership. We want love. We want companionship. We want to build a life with someone. But then on the other hand, we have seen those situations where partnership has slowly chipped away at the woman we want to or wanted to become, meaning, that woman's voice or her needs or identity became secondary to keeping that relationship intact. Another tension, many of us long for intimacy, right? We want that deep connection, that emotional closeness, and some of us even that spiritual alignment. But at the same time, we are protective of our autonomy, right? Because we
Yes.
watch women lose the freedom to fully express themselves once they're inside of that marriage. And then we all have that desire to be chosen, right? I think most of us we want to be loved deeply. We
Yes.
want to be loved intentional. I want that intentional love.
Hmm.
Mhm.
See, I loved you on purpose.
On purpose, not in a way that consumes them, and not in a way where love requires us to lose who we are or adjust constantly or silence the parts of ourselves just to maintain our peace. And then if you add on that whole layer of being a woman of faith, honey, okay, we are told, and rightfully so, that marriage is God's design. That's sacred. But the tension seeps right back in when women hear that particular teaching while also watching marriages that they can see for themselves slowly disappearing. So we're looking at women and marriages around us. So women are asking themselves, can I be fully loved without losing who I am? And really, I think the tension a lot of women are navigating quietly is worth talking about openly and honestly. So, Dr. DQ and Dr. Blaire, what have you all observed in regards to this? What have you seen women lose after marriage?
Okay, so know of several people who are no longer married. Some of them older, some of them our age. And so I actually have a friend who was married young. And if I recall, the catalyst to her getting married was that she became pregnant. They were married. They had multiple kids, then they got divorced. After divorce, I believe because she was married young, she spent a lot of time post-divorce really learning herself. And honestly, in my opinion, it was after the divorce that she was able to really name what she lost as an individual. When people get married young, they essentially are growing up together.
Yes.
And that is what happened. And so it was after the divorce that she really was able to spend some time figuring out who she was. Many women try to fit into what they believe a wife should be. And that's how they end up losing themselves, living up to these expectations that they gathered from what they observed or what they believed, or maybe even what they wanted. And I think that that was the case for her. If I had to guess from the conversations I've had with her, she lost the things that she loved and she lost who she was before getting married, where all of that then had to be found and or redefined. So she kind of lost the opportunity to learn herself as a grown woman, not just as an adult. She was an adult when she got married, but y'all know there's a difference between being an adult and being grown.
That part.
Yeah.
And I think she also just kind of lost her independence, not to mention there is a sacrifice of her professional career. So, we hear it all the time when women get married, they become so-and-so's wife. That's how they're acknowledged. That's how they're seen. Even this organization that I was in for women, I had to give my husband's name. Well, for what? Like, is everybody in here married? Like, help me understand that. So it's really built into society and built into culture. We're not making this up. But y'all know I be on TikTok too, so I also see it there with women. Women are trying to fit into this picture of what a wife should be, and y'all, they lose themselves. They lose their common sense too. That's the other thing women lose. There was one TikTok video I saw, and this lady was like, one day I woke up and I got divorced and went down the story. I mean, she was letting this man live with her, knew he had previous kids, which is fine, but he wasn't making no money, wasn't pretending to make no money. After marriage, found out he had other kids, y'all. So I'm gonna just drop this PSA in the chat, right? Tell y'all like I told a good friend of mine, y'all do a background check, okay? I just had to drop that PSA in there. Do a background check so you don't lose yourself and start to really navigate these marriage waters for the wrong person.
If you don't take nothing from this podcast,
PSA, 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 do that background check.
Get that background check.
oh, I love this question, Lady B. It was a part of our initial conversation even before we started recording. We was talking about how initially it can be hard. I know there may be women listening like, y'all young in the game. You know what I'm saying? 12, 13 years. It feel like something. It felt like something. It felt like something.
It do.
But, it was an initial, like I had to think through this to answer this particular question. I mean, I can think of, because my husband's a bit older than me. He's 5 years older than me. 4. Oops. He gonna be bad. He a little bit older than me. So when I got married, I was 29, I think, when I got married. I still wanted to be outside. Like, you know what I'm saying? I had just moved to Michigan. I was like, let me just, what Michigan talking about? I know what North Carolina was talking about. I know what Chicago was talking about. Like, let me see what Detroit talking about. And he was like, that's not how you act as a wife. I said, oh, I said, yes.
Did you really? Because we know.
No, I complied. I remember him telling me, and we joke about it now to this day. I remember him telling me, like, that's not how a wife dresses. I don't know what I had on, y'all. But he was like, that ain't how you dress if you're trying to be a wife one day. I said, okay. And I altered my dress. Now, I'm still cute, but I did. I was like, oh, shoot, he said, he a little bit older. Let me just go ahead and just compromise a little bit. But as you continue to do that, you see more and more and more and more compromise. And don't put kids into the. Our next one need to be about kids, y'all. Those that got kids, those listeners, leave a comment if you're like, yeah, having them kids really, really change you. But you start seeing more and more how you may be losing sense of yourself, right? As you kind of reflect back on those particular experiences. Like, well, I guess I can't be outside like that. I can't flirt. You know what I'm saying? We can still acknowledge when we see a beautiful person in front of us, but it looks different when you marry, those types of things. So that's what immediately came to mind. But I also we talked about like friendships and how especially when you have single friends, eventually they're going to stop texting and calling to say, girl, can you come out? No, I can't. I need 2 weeks ahead of time. I need to ask him what he doing first. I need to know where we going. He said I can't go there because he told me I can't go there. So it's the little things, right, where you have to make adjustments for what is supposed to be a priority, right, for us, which is our marriage, which is our partner. But when you take a second to think about it, it's like, oh, I have changed. I have shifted a lot more than maybe what I've realized.
I love that.
I think it's in those moments too that you have to evaluate, like, is this a compromise that I'm willing to make? And if I do, how do I honestly feel about it? Is this me? Or is this something I like to do? And in my opinion, that really takes a mature person, a mature woman.
Yeah.
And that might be something you have to grow into. Like, you're not going to come into a marriage always having that level of reflection and self-reflection and maturity. So I think that warrants a moment to pause and say, okay, if I comply or if I agree to make this accommodation, yeah, that's my education background. If I agree to make this accommodation, am I still me? Or am I feeling like I'm leaving a piece of myself on the table?
Yeah.
And I think for me, that was the issue that I saw. I was 28 when I got married, and I thought I was mature, but I was not.
You was still, you was mature. You was mature.
I was, But marriage is another level of growth. Okay. So I was not asking those questions, Dr. DQ. I was not making those accommodations. And what I've seen women lose, in addition to that, like for myself, was friends. I was trying to think too. And that friend piece is real because, as Dr. Blaire said, in that beginning, I recall trying to figure this out. And you're so caught up and wrapped up in all the goodness and the fun and friends, like they'll understand, right? And thankfully, thank God that you two understood and stayed. However, there's some friendships that I've lost along the way, and it happens.
I was looking up an article, y'all, and it was on Maya, the singer Maya. And
Mm.
one, she looks amazing. She is 46 and just, baby,
Yes.
what lotion you using? What skincare regimen do you have? She looks amazing. But she is 46, and this article was talking about 46, no kids, never married. And she was just glowing. Yes, we don't ever think about it. Maya's never been married. She ain't got no kids. She moving on.
I think she's vegan.
I gotta have meat though,
Yeah,
so
you got
I mean, listen,
it's not worth it. I'll just
carnivorous is over here, okay?
okay. So we eat
But I do
meat.
think diet might also play a role in that. But yes.
There you go. There you go. Yes, but I wanted to get y'all's opinion. I'm wondering if maybe she had examples of people, living their life doing the traditional, what we've been socialized to think as far as the order, right? You get your education, then you get married, then you have kids, then get a dog or a pet, a fish, something, right? And she was like, I see what people going through and I don't want that. I want to live. I want to just have all the peace for me. But I just thought it in the article again, it highlighted the fact that no kids, no husband. She out here living.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, now we glorifying that? That's such a countercultural perspective.
I just want to reflect for a moment. I'm trying to think of if I know any people that don't have kids that also don't have gray hairs. Because I swear, if they childless, they ain't got no gray hair.
Yeah, they don't. No, I think that singleness, right, is something to appreciate and value, right? I think it does bring there's a sense of peace and tranquility that they have. Right. You do have more opportunity to work on yourself, the physical aspect, the mental, emotional aspect. You have that time to zero in on you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And she do look good. I'm
She
looking
look
right now.
good. Shout out to Maya. But I was just wondering, as we were leading up to this recording, I was like, did somebody whisper in her ear and say, girl, the life you want is this?
She said
Because
it's
what
all
may
about
happen.
me,
Yeah,
me.
forget about you. Ooh, y'all, we have a good time with this podcast. You can't tell us nothing. If you having a good time, go ahead and like it. Share this with somebody.
So this isn't about whether marriage is good or bad, y'all. We are speaking about how our understanding of marriage was formed and what that formation taught us that caused us to be weary of losing ourselves. When you are learning about marriage, you may have these beliefs about marriage meaning compromise or sacrifice, or you might be trying to really figure out how to blend with another person, because that is truly a journey, blending your lifestyle and somebody else's lifestyle. Y'all, I'm gonna tell y'all the truth. It don't matter how long y'all date. Baby, once y'all get married, go back to the starting line.
Yeah.
Go back.
That's
okay.
right.
But y'all, let's talk a little bit just about what we saw. I know for myself, my parents were high school sweethearts. Both sets of my grandparents are married. Y'all, my parents were married young, 19 and 21. As a child, I'm like, oh, they was 19 and 21. But ma'am, as a full adult, I realized that they really grew up together.
Yes.
Yeah, they did.
Yes.
They did.
What I observed, typical roles. My mom did a lot of the cooking and cleaning. My dad did a lot of the stuff in the yard. Both of them worked full time. And so that did, I think, influence me. And I'm like, yes, let me get a job. Let me get a husband. I think I was also 29 when I got married. But even though I was almost 30, I still don't know that I really knew myself before getting married. It was a journey. It was something I had to learn, but I was good. I was doing me, had my husband. But my point of reflection here is that I felt like I was starting to lose myself once I became a mother. Okay. And I know we kind of talked about that already, just about the role that kids play. But I really felt like my purpose essentially was work, wife, mom. And momming became my me time. Like that took the place of my me time where I was doing stuff that I wanted, hanging out. Well, now I have young people that I'm responsible for. So I had to do things differently. And also just parenthood with my husband, I felt like a lot of things were left for me to do either because he didn't see stuff that needed to be done or because it really fit into those stereotypical expectations that people have of women, of moms in the household. So for me, losing myself wasn't exactly tied to marriage. It was tied to parenthood, which came after the marriage. So my expectations, my boundaries, I had to learn them. I had to be okay with them, and then I had to communicate them.
As I was reflecting on this, my revelation happened kind of in the midst of my marriage. So I don't, maybe about 5 or so ish years ago. Cause I was reflecting on the fact that I hear these phrases of pick your battles. That's just how men are. Keep your home together. All these phrases that are just like endure. You know what I'm saying? Like watch your tongue. This is just, it's them. So you need to learn how to adjust to them type things. And I was like, oh, okay. I hear you. Again, how a wife is supposed to dress. I compromise. So I don't have many close friends near me. And that is a slight jab at these two beautiful women on the call because I keep telling them to move to Michigan and they don't want to. And I understand. It's cold.
Girl,
Yeah.
it's cold.
I was about to say, what was the temperature earlier this week?
What up there?
You said how
We
much?
gon-
19? Was that the number you threw out there?
It was 19. But last week we was in the 50s.
Today in North Carolina, we hit like mid 70s. So
And I'm in the 80s in Florida.
Okay. Well,
Anyway, go ahead.
nonetheless, I keep asking. Y'all see, listeners, empathize with me. I keep telling my friends, my married friends, to come on, just be a little closer to me. Just be a little closer. But I don't have many that are near me in Michigan that are married. And so when I'm going through marriage stuff or just having my regular interaction like with my husband, I get comments around like, ooh, this is how marriage is. I don't want it. That's why you single now. See, now that's the petty Blaire. I'm working on me.
That's good. That's so true, though.
It's
That's
very
so
true.
true. I get it all. Yes.
It is. And I would think to myself, like, I'm just showing the true exchange that happens between me and my husband. I reflect on the fact that we romanticize marriage to a certain degree. When we think about media and the man swooping the woman off her feet and all this beautifulness.
Yeah.
Or we see extremes where it's husbands being abusive to their wives verbally or physically, right? And there's like, no, this is what real life is. There may be some cute romanticized pieces, and then there may be some pieces that's like, this is
because
it.
at the end of the day, I'm still frustrated because we don't know what we're eating for dinner. And you won't decide
Okay.
what's for dinner.
It's the little things like that. So I was showing, and I wanted to show the reality because I didn't get images. I didn't have people show me like the cute exchange or the cute banter or when they would have disagreements. Now, let me just say this. I don't believe in fighting in public. So like, bless us. My husband is the type who likes to address and process things in real time. I'm not. If we in public and it's about to be a real argument, you better hold it in until we can get to a private place. So you never really gonna see like the real like, oh, they mad at each other. But people will look at the way that we just exchange in our banter and they be like, oh, that's a lie. Y'all don't, this is what love is. Yes, it is.
Because love is
13
honest.
years. Love is honest. Yes. And we had that relationship prior to, so why would it change now? We even also have this dynamic of like, we will have disagreements in front of the kids because Antoine, my husband, is very big on they need to see how to resolve conflict appropriately. Because otherwise they see us being frustrated or mad with each other. And then we go behind closed doors. And then the next day it's like, nothing happened. No, you're going to see us talk through it. You're going to see us name our feelings. You're going to see all of that emotional regulation and emotional intelligence in real time. Because otherwise they're going to grow up like we did, where we never saw it. It was never like presented in front of us. So I feel like women can become like this relational buffer for everyone else. I'm responsible for protecting the image of marriage or transparently showing the beauty of marriage and like hiding the burdens. And that's not it. That's not it. That weight can feel really heavy that I need to protect other people's image of this
Mm.
glorified, beautiful marriage that you want to have. No, we argue.
Oh,
We
that's good.
banter. We have this exchange. I realize that like when you hold that stuff back, like that resentment is going to build slowly. It's going to be kind of this silent like snowball effect even. And then the internal self, it gets real loud. My internal scripts like, no, I shouldn't show this. Like this isn't good. Maybe we fight too much. Maybe our banter isn't normal and we shouldn't have it. No, that's how we are. This is how we are. So my reframe as I was like reflecting on this was that God didn't say it would be all roses and peaches and daisies and no. So let me model how to overcome those things in marriage. What God did invite us to do was to live into this growth, live into this refinement, this partnership, to abandon this mindset of perfection because we are developing this together. We are on this path together. So I got to this point where I was honoring the tests so I could get to the testimony. I got to this point where I was valuing how I enjoy being vocal, how I enjoy being transparent, and now using that as I need you to see this. Like to you, this is like, oh, if this is how marriage is, but it is. You're going to have disagreements with the one that you love.
Yeah.
You're going to have that potentially uncomfortable moment. But I realize that as other people are expressing to me what is potentially their discomfort, that's stuff that they need to unpack. Why does
Wow.
a disagreement make you uncomfortable? We adults here. I'm 41 and fine, right? Like how you telling me that you uncomfortable but you can't unpack the reason why? Is it because you never saw a resolution when it came to argument? Is it because you associate disagreements with anger? Because I can have a dialogue with someone where we disagree and I'm not angry. Like I'm not holding on to that. So I realized that this particular challenge for me where I felt like, well, let me glorify marriage and I want all my friends to be married because my good friends that live far away don't want to move to Michigan. No, let me continue to show that God is continuing to refine us, that this is a part of marriage. He never said that that we're not going to have trials and troubles. And we get through, again, 13 years strong, 12 years. I don't know how many years, y'all.
12 years.
Thank you. 12. So yeah,
Listen.
that was my reflection of like I was losing myself and trying to protect this beautiful romanticized image of marriage and I was like, "No, you're going to get this." And more people need to see it.
Yeah, I love that. People need to see the true, real, authentic relationship and not what we see, the glorified relationships on TV, on in social media. I agree wholeheartedly because I was the one. I was one of those people who that fantasy, that desire for the Disney World fantasy princess experience, right? That I thought that I was, entitled to. And who somebody said about the dating part, I'm thinking like dating, everything was good. We had like no arguments, like zero, none. And then we got married. It was like,
Where these
what
come
is
from?
going on? Right. So I love that. I love what you said. One thing that I had to confront in my marriage, was exactly the fear of losing myself. I mean, for everybody that has been already tuning into the other episodes, I've mentioned it a few times, but you know, we all here on this podcast were raised to be strong, right? So I was raised to be strong, raised to be independent. I saw strength in women around me with or without a man. So it was important for me to maintain that strong woman phenomena. It was. I was educated at the time before getting married. I was on track for making good money. And I thought I knew where I was going in life. Like I had a plan and I wasn't looking for a partner to really take me off of my track, take me off track. Culturally, we're taught that a good wife has to adjust or she has to adapt. She supports, right? She's supporting her family. She's going to hold the relationship together. But no one really teaches us as women how to stay whole while doing that. So, for truthfully, for me, there were seasons in my marriage where I had to ask myself, what the? But seriously, I remember asking my mom, like, why didn't you tell me marriage was like this? Like, what? It's
Yes.
almost like it's a rites of passage that you have to figure out on your own, right? Was what I thought, still. And, I would truly have benefited, I think, early on from a circle where I could have openly discussed, the experiences that I was having. But instead, for me, I was silently carrying those growth moments. I would call them growth moments alone, right? I wasn't where I am today spiritually. So I wasn't seeking God in prayer at that time. I wasn't going to my sister circle because they weren't either married yet or I had a fear that I would be exposed. Really, the fear of like, I didn't know what I was doing or that I had to keep things intact. So I had to ask myself, am I compromising or am I slowly abandoning myself just to keep peace? And Dante and I have been married for, what did we say, 12 years? 12 years now. And one thing that marriage will absolutely do is that it will confront you with yourself. So your
Yeah.
communication style, your expectations, your wounds, your pride,
Mhm.
early in the marriage, I realized I was very aware of everyone else's emotional experience in the relationship. But I was not honoring my own. As women, we often we're often socialized to be the emotional regulators of our home, right? We have to manage the peace. We
Mhm.
have to manage the tone of the home and our voice. We have to manage how things land. So somewhere along the way, I had to go to God.
Come on.
Because when it does talk about becoming one, it does not mean that we have to disappear or lose ourselves. It really is. It's two people bringing their full selves to
Mhm.
the altar and allowing God to refine them both, not just the woman, right? The man too. And for me, that was really a big realization for me. Marriage wasn't supposed to make me feel like I was losing myself or my calling or my voice. It was and it does require growth. And sometimes that growth was so uncomfortable. Sometimes that growth is uncomfortable. There's uncomfortable conversations where you have to say what you actually feel, right? Tactfully, of course, like say it however, unless you got the banter, depending on the banter in your marriage, right? But it looks like honoring your desire instead of suppressing it to avoid conflict. And I found myself like, I don't want to say this, I want to avoid conflict. So, and it's tough, right? It's tough and it can feel really scary because a lot of us we have watched other women lose themselves and keep their relationships intact. And I was always the one to say, I don't want to lose myself. I don't want to be that woman that's in pain and suffering in silence. But ultimately, what I've learned is that a healthy marriage does not require a woman to lose herself, which is why it's so important for us to have Christ as the foundation so that you are equipped. Like that is what I've learned. You have to be equipped with the proper armor, right? Needing to go into your marriage because the enemy is not there just to attack the obvious things, right? Like infidelity or divorce. Like those are things that are obvious, but the enemy also comes to attack your identity and just being unified in that communication. So for me, I would say I thank God for growth. I thank God for the refinement process and where I am. But it was some definitely what you call growing pains.
Stretch
And
marks. The
stretch the
stretch
stretch marks,
marks.
y'all. Let's bring that back. Yeah, the stretch marks.
Episode
It was
one.
there. Episode
Go
one.
back.
You know.
If you know, you know. That is so good. Lady B has already started the work as far as reframing this with God at the center. So I'm gonna slow it down, slow motion for you. Okay, y'all, listen.
We still on that journey.
We still on that journey. I watched this amazing TikTok the other day that talked about how for those of us born in the 80s, how we grew up on Juvenile and Lil Wayne, and now we over here listening to Tasha Cobbs Leonard and Forrest Frank and the bass in a car. It's a little different, but we still got that bass.
Baby, my music selection is on a spectrum. It's on a
I
spectrum
love it.
still, anywhere from ratchet to righteous, from hood to holy. It just depends on what's going
Depends on
on.
the
I'm
day.
leaning more. I'm shifting, but it's a journey. Yes.
So yes, we gonna slow it down because we want to reframe this with God and to acknowledge the culture pieces, but to do our work to connect more to the scripture, to the word. So when we think about culture, what it has taught us about marriage, it talked about it being ownership, right? You become one. So in the midst of that, like I'm losing myself, I'm choosing in this partnership to potentially surrender my authorship and who I am within this space to become one. It talks about just that merger piece, and sometimes it's not mutual. It's to be this even exchange, so I have to adjust, I have to absorb, I have to adapt, and that is heavy for a lot of us, and we lose ourselves in that. And it gives us this understanding, culture does, right? As far as desire is dangerous. It's something that needs to be managed. It needs to be muted. You can't have that unless I'm desiring my man, my partner, then it's a problem. And so it then gets us to this point where, again, it's costing us certain things, our voice, our joy, our sense of self. And I actually did a little bit of research, bringing in some research here. And it's called the walkaway wife syndrome. Research into marital work actually highlights that a particular scenario where a wife, and it says often Black women, surprisingly enough, when we feel unheard and emotionally disconnected for years, it's because we invest in the marriage work and we lose our sense of self. And eventually it leads to what they call a quiet destruction of your marriage, that bitterness, that resentment that is coming because I'm focusing on the marriage and I'm losing myself in the midst of it. And that's not God's design. He is not inviting us to erase. He made us all beautifully unique for a reason, and he knows who we are. When people are like, well, I'm just adjusting, I'm compromising. God know who you are. He know your personality. He don't want you to lose that. He made you unique and beautiful just as you are. He's inviting us into union. And when I say union, I am talking about a union where desire is not a threat. It is information. It is a space where partnership is going to multiply identity instead of dissolving it. And it's going to be the space where two whole people are seen and chosen and they're becoming together. Becoming one was never about becoming invisible. So God's design for union reflects wholeness and it doesn't reflect loss. Desire is not opposed to whole. And it's important that we know that love does not require disappearance. So when we think about how we clarify this, we want to be very, very clear that you don't have to, one, want marriage. That is okay if you like, listen, let me just let me live like Maya and be
It's all
46
about
and
me.
fine.
Yes.
It's all about me, 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 me. Recognizing that in the word, we want communion, we want fellowship, right? So what is your community going to look like? What is your partnership going to look like if you do choose that marriage is not for you? Also know that you don't have to define that thing today. If you are in a relationship right now and you're like, I don't know if I want to marry him or if I want to marry her, for my men out there listening, we got some male listeners. I'll be looking at the analytics.
But now, if you know you don't want to marry them, get clear, and that might mean getting gone. Don't waste people's time.
Thank you. She giving all types of PSA today. Y'all better write down what Dr. DQ is saying. Do these background checks. And if you
Amen.
do not want to, you know your partner is in this for the long haul and you like, this ain't for me. Let them know. Let them know tonight.
Please.
Let them know today. Please, please, please. So you don't have to be ready for union to examine your fears honestly. This isn't about forcing a conclusion. This is about telling the truth. This is about reflecting on how you got to this space around your ideas around marriage. What images of marriage you saw, were they glorified and romanticized, or did you get the extreme end of it and maybe that's why you're afraid of it? but clarify and come to God honestly as you do that work.
Wow, where all might be in different places right now listening. Some people might be looking up the how to get the background check, and some of us are just in deep prayer and thought like, yeah, we are all all in different places and spaces. And you all might be listening right now, right? You're listening to our dialogue, our conversation, and laughing with us. And, I'm glad you laughed and having a good time. But, this is something Dr. Blaire said this might be something you need to do tonight. And if that's where your spirit is leading you, then I want to encourage you and let us know too how we can help support you in that for sure. So you might be listening to this conversation and think to yourself, I want love. I really want to find that companionship, but I don't want to lose myself. Dr. DQ, Dr. Blaire, Lady B, I don't want to lose myself. And that tension is more common than people care to admit. You might want partnership, but you also have worked real hard for your identity to build the identity that you are walking in today. You've built your faith, you've built your calling, you've gained some clarity around different things, and the thought of intimacy threatening that can feel risky. So the truth is that fear didn't come out of nowhere, right? We talked about it. It comes from things that we've seen on TV. It comes from our observations. It comes from family systems. It comes and from watching women carry the emotional weight of relationships, from seeing other women silence themselves just to maintain harmony, from seeing women prioritize everyone else's comfort over their own truth. So if you're wrestling with that tension right now, first, I want to let you know you're not alone, right? You have sisters that will back you up, that will support you. But if you are wrestling with that tension right now between wanting love and protecting yourself, we want you to know that you're not broken. Where you are, you're discerning right now. And discernment is not the enemy of desire. Sometimes it's the very thing that's actually protecting it. So, what we want you to do is to give yourself permission to slow down, to stay honest with God and trust that He knows how to lead you into love without losing yourself.
Amen. So, y'all, remember, God is not asking you to disappear to be loved. He made you who you are. You are uniquely and divinely made. He is inviting you to bring your full self into your relationships with people. We didn't talk too much about our professional relationships today, but definitely with your significant other, your spouse, bring your full self into the relationship. And as you do, no matter what phase you're in, whether you're single, dating, married, engaged, we're educators over here. So we got to give you something to think about. We want you to think about, what does marriage cost a woman, in your opinion? And where did you learn that? Is it from your own firsthand experiences or from what you've observed? You also might want to think about where your fear of intimacy might limit your calling or your ability to love or your ability to be loved. Think about what parts of yourself you might feel pressured to downplay in your relationships. Are you sacrificing who you are, or is it genuinely a compromise that is honestly growth? And what would union look like if it didn't require self-abandonment, if you feel like it does? We want you to get clear on what the ideal relationship looks like to you and what it means to you. All right, so your yes might be naming desire without explaining it. That's okay. Name that desire. Be true to yourself and be who you are. Be authentic. You might also be noticing where fear has been driving the conversation or driving your relationships. or driving how you show up in your relationship. And your yes might also be simply staying with the question, staying in the moment and processing what you're feeling, what you're saying, how you're acting, and why. And just sitting with that instead of rushing to resolve it or even dismiss it, which so many of us do as women. We dismiss things. Like Dr. Blaire said, you don't want to just show up the next morning where everything's resolved or you pretend like nothing happened. Sit with it, deal with it, pray about it, and don't rush the resolution.
Slow motion. Listen, I feel like it's a theme, one of the many beautiful themes from this particular episode. Listen, if this conversation stir up the gifts. If it stirred up something up anew, questions, emotions you didn't expect, whatever it may be, we want you to hear this clearly. You are not alone. There's a
You are
reason why
not alone.
we
We
in it
always got a
today.
song, okay? I am here with you. Okay.
We are. Yes. We gonna lay some tracks later. Let me tell you, it's okay to want that partnership and to still be figuring out what feels safe. It's okay to desire connection and protect your sense of self. Both can be true. It's a both and right within this space. So we appreciate you for listening with an open heart. We want you to know that staying in this conversation, we're going to talk about things. We're going to reflect. You're not going to get quick answers. We don't want quick answers. We want to sit in that corrective journey and that reflective journey. So thank you for staying in this conversation. Thank you for trusting us with something as personal as your hopes, your fears, your questions around marriage, life, faith, all these things. This isn't something that we have mastered. We are definitely not experts in this work. It's something that we're learning and we're doing it right alongside you. We are in this together. So if this episode helped you to put words to something you've been carrying, share it with a friend who's navigating love, marriage, desires, who's trying to do this work honestly. Tell the masses, tell the people. Like, subscribe if you haven't already. Go back to some of the previous episodes and get fed. Just snack on something for a little bit, because that's what we're here for, to steward this works. Come back next time. We're talking about something many of us hold onto, maybe not so quietly, because y'all know I'm loud and proud, but we're going to talk about bitterness and how heavy it can be, and how letting go is holy and how it is freeing. So until then, mentally prepare, do some of the reflective work that Dr. DQ shared, be good to yourself, stay curious about yourself, about God, and keep doing this yes work, because we in this with you.
Yes, word.
Yes, we are here. Bye.